Let's be real. A breakup can feel like your whole world has just imploded. It's this uniquely awful kind of pain, and when you're in it, it's so hard to imagine a way out. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into the psychology of why it hurts so much. And more importantly, we're going to lay out a clear blueprint for how to actually heal. So let's get into it. First things first, let's tackle the biggest question on the table. Why does heartbreak feel like you've been physically wounded? I mean, if you've ever felt that deep, intense ache right in your chest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm here to tell you it is not in your head and you are not overreacting. So before we can even talk about healing, we have to talk about the hurt. We need to validate that pain. So in this first part, we're going to look at the very real, very scientific reasons why a breakup can be just so completely devastating. And you know, the science on this is actually pretty wild. Grief psychology studies have found that the end of a relationship can trigger the exact same neural pathways that light up when you, say, burn your hand on a stove. The bottom line is this: when you say you're hurting, your brain is literally agreeing with you. But it goes even deeper than just brain chemistry, right? A breakup is a massive hit to your identity. You're not just losing a person, you're losing huge parts of your life. Think about it: the daily routines, the inside jokes, the future you were planning together. That person was a pillar of support, a reference point for everything. And when they're suddenly gone, it can feel like you've lost a huge piece of who you are. So that emotional roller coaster you feel like you're on, the one where you're fine one minute and a wreck the next, well, it actually has a name. Let's move on and see how the well-known stages of grief can actually give us a map for what you're going through. You've probably heard of the Kubler-Ross model. It was originally about dealing with loss, and a breakup is a major loss. Now, it is so important to remember, this is not a straight line. You might jump from anger to bargaining and back to denial all in one day, and that is completely normal. Think of this more as a framework to help you make sense of your own journey. First up, you've got denial. This is basically your brain's emergency brake. It's a defense mechanism to soften that immediate, brutal shock. You might find yourself rereading old texts, feeling kind of numb, or just telling yourself they'll be back. It's just a protective buffer before the reality of it all sinks in. And then, as that denial starts to fade, the raw pain often turns into anger. You might be furious at your ex, maybe you're mad at yourself, or you're just angry at the whole unfairness of the situation. And, this anger can feel kind of powerful because it points the pain outward. It's often way easier to feel rage than it is to feel vulnerable or rejected. Then comes bargaining. The stage of what ifs and if onlys. This is when you just replay conversations over and over in your head, imagining what you could have done differently or what you could do now to fix it. Really, it's just a desperate attempt to get some sense of control back when you feel like you have none. And for a lot of people, this is the toughest part: depression. This is where the reality and the sheer depth of the loss just hits you. You might feel this profound sadness. You pull away from people, and it can feel totally hopeless. It's a really heavy stage, but it is a necessary part of processing it all. And finally, we get to acceptance. Now, let's be clear. This does not mean you're suddenly happy about the breakup or that you're magically over it. Not at all. It just means you've made peace with the new reality. The sadness doesn't swallow you whole anymore, and you can actually start to believe in a hopeful future for yourself, one that's separate from your ex. Okay, so beyond the stages of grief, a breakup can deliver a massive blow to something really core to all of us, our self-esteem. So let's talk about how a separation can make you completely question your own worth. Does any of this sound familiar? Our brains can interpret a breakup as a deep personal rejection, which just fuels those feelings of not being good enough. You might find yourself being incredibly hard on yourself, needing constant approval from other people, or, and this is a big one, obsessively checking your ex's social media. These are all huge red flags that your self-worth has taken a serious hit. This slide really shows the battle that's probably going on inside your head right now. On one side, you have that harsh inner critic, that voice of self-blame. But on the other side, you have a voice of self-compassion. The goal is to slowly, deliberately start cultivating that kinder voice. And the most important takeaway here is that you actually have the power to consciously make that shift. All right, let's talk about getting stuck. One of the single biggest roadblocks to healing is a mental trap, a kind of mental hamster wheel called rumination. This next part is all about how to spot it, and more importantly, how to get off that wheel for good. So what even is rumination? Well, it's when you get stuck in a loop. You're replaying the breakup, endlessly analyzing what went wrong, and just obsessing over the pain.
Now, a little bit of reflection is totally normal. But rumination is when that thinking becomes repetitive, it's unproductive, and it keeps you trapped in all those negative emotions.
And it helps to know that this mental hamster wheel comes in a few different flavors. You might be stuck in a depressive loop, just focusing on sadness and rejection. Or maybe it's an anxious one, where you're constantly worrying about what the future looks like now. Or maybe it's angry rumination, where you just replay every single thing your ex did wrong. Figuring out your personal pattern is really the first step to breaking that cycle. Okay, we have validated the pain, we've mapped out the emotions, and we've identified the mental traps. Now we get to the most important part, the action plan. This is your practical, hands-on blueprint for healing and for taking your power back. Here are 5 real, concrete strategies. First, validate your feelings. It is okay to not be okay. Next, set some really firm boundaries, especially with social media. This one is huge. Then, reestablish routines that are just for you. This helps rebuild your identity outside of that relationship. Practice self-soothing to redirect your mind when it starts to spin out. And finally, please lean on your support system. I want to leave you with this really powerful thought from psychologist Sarah G. Garcia. It's such a critical reminder that your worth is not and was never defined by a relationship. This incredibly painful chapter, it's not the end of your story. It's actually an opportunity to put yourself back in the center as the main character of your own life. So, as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Instead of asking over and over again, what went wrong? Try asking, what did I learn? What did this whole experience show you about your own needs, your boundaries, and what you truly, truly want and deserve in the future? Because the answer to that question, that's where your healing really begins.